Hey everybody, welcome to week 5. For my maternal health child systems, I always get mixed up between that and midwifery program because I was in that program prior to. Anyway, welcome to week 5 of my portfolio. So this week we'll be talking about commitment, alignment, and accountability. All of these things, ironically, should and are themes in relationships because in order to be a business owner, but in order to be in the community, you have to have relationships. Ha ha ha. So let's read the quote of the day or the phrase of this video to keep us in alignment to what the topic is. To make progress, community collaboratives require a focused and sustained commitment of multiple stakeholders to a shared purpose. In case study 1, Jolie Bain Pillsbury adds the dimension of accountability as essential to moving commitments to tangible results and has operationalized and implemented this theory in a results-based leadership model. Bridgespan found that it was important to build trust so that a group has a shared responsibility to quantifiable words, goals. The Center of Creative Leadership has created a DAC, Direction, Alignment, and Commitment theory of leadership that makes the case that leadership is a process of creating shared direction, building strong alignment, and acting on shared commitments. Okay, let me back up for a second. No, not let me back up. Let me go forward. Let's just press on the gas. This is a go-kart. So some of these readings that were required, I'm just like, first of all, did a Caucasian man have to do it? Because they need to do their work when it comes to leadership, because there's not a lot of soul or ethics, morality, humanity involved in what a lot of things are going on, right? Historically. Not to say that people of color have not. It's not what I'm saying. But because a lot of the literature out there, because a lot of scholarly things, unfortunately, are not minority. They are of the majority, which is Caucasian. And that alone irritates me. But this long paper was informative and boring at the same time. I'm like, there was nobody else to write this? No one. No one else? But anyway, I digress. So, Drath et al. Talked about the DAC, so Direction, Alignment, and Commitment. A tripod ontology, and I was like, oncology. I had to read it again. Ontology, which is basically a map of what exists. So all the things about leadership, and they make a map. All these different theories and processes, like they put it in a map, kind of connect everything. And if you probably put all of the things together that are in literature and research, it would be very chaotic and redundant, but chaotic. So this is when leaders, followers, or a tripod ontology is when leaders, followers, and their common goals. I was like, you could have said that in 5 words, but go off, shorty. So in the Drath et al. Paper, it talked about one phrase that I highlighted. It says, locating the source of leadership in a culture comprising individual and collective beliefs and shared practices. The DAC, Direction, Alignment, Commitment, framework supports an analysis of leadership as an achievement of the whole collective that is realized on multiple levels, from dyad through group and team, right up to whole organizations and even organizations of organizations. So once again, it just shows the different levels of how far this web can be weaved or is weaved. It was insightful, and it just makes me reflect on what my goals are, what I'm doing, who I'm relating with, and what my followers are. And unfortunately and unfortunately, we have Instagram and Facebook to talk about followers and friends and how people are relating and interacting with you. So I was like, okay, I'll ride this wave for a bit. Again, could have been shorter, could have been said way better, because a lot of scholarly writing is boring. To make topics interesting, and this is like kind of my issue, pushing back on so many things when it comes to scholarly writing. It doesn't have to be boring, but they want us to, which is a paradox in its own right, and I will get on that after I graduate, because, gotta finish. So another reading that was assigned to us is by the National Council of Nonprofits. The title was Have a Fundraising Plan, Work the Plan, and Improve the Plan. And again, because MATRI is/will be a for-profit business, all of these things do not apply. But that doesn't mean I can't take gems or nuggets, like small little sections from it, and incorporate that into what I'm doing. So what I have highlighted out from there that stuck out to me, you have to determine in part by trial and error what activities will generate the biggest return on investment of time and resources. For me, this is like, what postings do I do? What organizations and events in the community that are circled or focused around either women-centered, birth, postpartum, infant health, maternal health, all of these things I have to, by trial and error, figure out what activities are beneficial, because who's going to be there? What connections can I make? Also, what am I going to put out? What am I producing? What post should I make? Should I do an ad? What Instagram link or Instagram post should I create so people can follow along? And doing that as a one-woman show can be very challenging. Like, I am stretched like Mrs. Incredible. All females are Mrs. Incredible, like, by far. We take care of the kids, and we stretch very far and very vast. And we're strong to do all of these things. I don't really want to be Mrs. Incredible no more. I want to be like Edna mode, just chilling, small, but mighty. And I kind of also feel like that's what I embody as well. So from our text our book, that one of the books that the class assigned us is Emergent Strategies. So they talked about intimate community on social media, speaking about sugar shift in the Facebook group. So I like her writing. It almost gives how kind of you would write a first or second draft of something, just your thoughts, just, kind of scrambled down, a little bit of loose outline. But I like her writing. I'm like, girl, you and me can be friends. So they talked about an intimate community on social media. And the first thing that they brought up was the speaking about a sugar shift. So I'm assuming that somebody created a group. And this first person who was the initiator talked about how they're getting off of sugar and they're shifting away from it. And I was like, well, yeah. That part gave me kind of the age of the person. Even though I haven't even looked up, like, normally I Google every author, but since this is for school right now, y'all, I'm just trying to make it to completion. But I was like, you're talking about Facebook? You gotta be late 30s, early 40s and above. Gotta be. Because that's not really, social media, a lot more likely now than ever, is very generationally hierarchical. Like I guess millennials are like more the Snapchatters, and then we have to do all of the other things. Like, what's that thing called? TikTok, the talkers. So another thing she brought up is tools for emergent strategy facilitation. And this I found was my favorite part of what she wrote about, because it's also going to be maybe a roadmap that I will have in expanding MATRI and just other branches that I have for that, which I'm going to keep that in my back pocket, but just know I'm thinking. So this is what she wrote. Trust the people. Trust is a seed that grows with attention and space. And when I first read that, I was like, okay. So not that we shouldn't trust people, but sometimes the different perspectives are very biased and systematically based. Not that we all aren't affected by any type of system, right? However, being in the community doula work, I see how some people have not done any work in certain areas, but all of a sudden they're now emerged in because they're pregnant. So I was like, I hear you, trust, but also verify. So asterisk for that point. Then she spoke about the facilitator can be a gardener or the sun, the water. I was like, yes, I love that. We need to nurture. We need to weed things out. We need to let things shine. We need to uplift and highlight people and what they share with us in groups that we created for them, for this community. So that makes sense. And then she gives a list of steps or things. So goal setting or intention, you have to invite the right people. Individual participant articulation, which means giving everyone room to say what they want, to prioritize and discuss. And then synthesizing that set of topics as a group. Grows the common tongue of the participants and allows for genuine clarity to happen in the dance of organizing. all of the desires into manageable number of conversations, and all the desires into manageable number of conversations. So I was like, again, because the first thing she listed in this whole section of the book was Facebook, this reminds me of a monitored Facebook group, right? Not so much on Instagram. Instagram isn't that level because people honestly are just turning their comments off or they're hiding specific comments. I'm sure there's AI tools out there to block out certain words, or even block out people. But the group setting is more likely for Facebook, just for like common folk like myself. And then the celebrities have their groups where you can follow and subscribe to them on Instagram. And I just found this out like 2 weeks ago. Before I was like getting all these notifications. I'm like, I don't know what this means. I don't have the capacity to care right now. But it was very interesting. So then the next point, she speaks about when you're developing a living agenda, it is really meaningful for each person to have 5 minutes. So this reminds me of my group facilitating with PSI, Postpartum Support International, and Poem Rise here in Ohio. So I'm a peer facilitator for both of those things on different days of the week. And we allow people to do shares. And sometimes you have some people who are just so full, they don't idealize and they don't embody the phrase step in and step back. Stepping in, they share, then they step back to allow other people to share. Some people just pour. I'm like, honey, you're hemorrhaging. Not that you don't need to release these things. And this is a group setting, so probably what you're needing is more personalized support. So that made me chuckle because a couple of other maternal health events that I went to were Black women would share their birth story. Some people were just talking. And it was really insightful to hear what they had to say. However, my attention span, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just too much. Like, I need you to give me a nice and finally last sentence. Give me in conclusion, this is what I have to say. And sometimes it never came. But yeah, it's definitely a skill to facilitate a group so everyone feels seen and heard. And the space is left so other people who may not feel super brave or courageous to step out to share. And then the last couple of things she says, listen with love, learn when to say yes and when to say no. Don't hover. We sometimes hover in groups because this is my baby. I want it to be like this. But I'm like, well, your mission is this. If we're just supporting the mission and this can be a part of it, let it go. If nobody is being harmed, let it go. It's fine. We need that. And lastly, what is the next elegant step? So you have this group, you're doing these things, you're cultivating this, but you also still have to constantly plan what's next. And sometimes that could be a lot, which is so important, once again, to have a group of supportive people around you that you trust their insight and leadership. So, of course, last but not least, my girl, Stacey. In this part of the book, I'm getting closer to the end. She doesn't really have like chapters, but I'm on page like 170 out of 200. So she talks about, to relate to everything else, do what you believe. To know what you believe and why you believe it. Love this. My mom and I frequently come back to this part or story from our church where our bishop talked about the ham, and basically every generation, like the youngest, didn't know why they put this ham in this specific pan. It's like, I don't know, because my mom did it. I don't know, because my mom did it. And then when you get to the root of the person who did it, or the initiator, the great grandma was like, my pan was too small, so I had to cut both sides to put the ham in the pan. And nobody knew why they put the ham, cut both sides into the pan, which is so funny. So I find myself, when I hear people, especially family, more family, especially my mom, we speak about things. I'm like, hey, so why are we doing this? Walk me through what this is. And when people say, I don't know, I have to press forward grace instead of irritation, which sometimes I can do. So everyone isn't as introspective as me. I just like to introspect because I feel like I'm my best fan. So anyway, I found her statement really powerful. She goes on to say, They are critical anchors. You will be called upon to balance the needs and desires and arguments of many. As a person who's in the community with all of the political things going on in our atmosphere, this is very important. You are going to be pushed. People are going to push back, and you have to know, even people in your own camp, what's going on and what grounds you in that work. And I do, because Black women like myself, we've birthed this country. My ancestors, granny midwives, enslaved midwives, birthed this country. So there's no reason why Black women should have to fight as hard as we do to be seen, especially when many of these surgical procedures and antidotes for all races were based on our bodies. It's crazy to me. But that's it. I think I have one more video, and I hope you enjoyed this long one. Bye.